I don't think any flashlight company has managed to nail their marketing quite as successfully as Olight has. Their products are great and extremely popular, and they generate lots of excitement whenever something new is released. In fact, Olight is one of the very few flashlight brands that seems to be widely recognized even outside of the hobby. And yet, their products have just never really appealed to me. They're certainly not bad, but their particular style of design and build are simply not to my preferences, and the price point is often difficult to swallow. However, during one of their fairly recent sales, Olight managed to tempt me into buying their prolific S2R Baton 2. It was a limited edition model made out of solid copper, and it cost substantially less than usual, and as such I just couldn't resist, and figured it might make for an interesting review on my channel. Olight definitely went out of their way to ensure a quality unboxing experience with this light, and it comes in a very nice, clean white box that puts an iPhone to shame. Included in the box is the light, the charger, a lanyard, and a nice but mostly pointless velvet bag, and the manual. Included within the light itself is Olight's modified 18650, which I will talk more about in a bit. This light is unique from the standard S2R Baton that Olight sells, in that this model is made of solid copper instead of aluminum. However, that is the only difference, as every other aspect of this light is identical to the standard version. The copper edition is no longer available, but Olight likes to release these kinds of LE models in order to generate interest, so I'm sure there will be another interesting model in the future. Usually this means a unique colored anodization, but they may at some point produce lights in other materials such as stainless steel or titanium, as they have done in the past. With this in mind, the build of this light is excellent. Everything is precisely machined and very solid. The finish on this light naturally tarnishes due to the nature of the material, but when I first received it, the finish was immaculate and gave off a feeling of very high quality. The light is surprisingly compact, being only 10 centimeters long and 2.3 centimeters wide. It weighs in at a fairly hefty 162.5 grams, with the battery included. Just for comparison, the standard aluminum version of this light weighs 98.2 grams with the battery, so this copper version is quite a bit heavier. In fact, it's almost twice as heavy. The body of the light has a unique square pattern knurling, which is very effective and gives a great grip on the light without being aggressive at all. I also happen to think that it looks very nice. At the base of the light is a strong magnet which allows it to attach to metal surfaces, and which is used for the included magnetic charger. There is also a lanyard hole that is conveniently placed to the side of the base so as not to hinder tail standing. Near the head of the light is a double-sided stainless steel clip that works very well and is very solid. It also acts as a roll stop for the light, allows for rapid alignment of the light in hand, and even has an extra lanyard attachment point. I do wish it was at the base of the light instead of the head, as I do prefer to carry the light face down instead. Still, I really like the clip. On the other side of the pill is the button, which juts out slightly and is very easy to find in the dark. There's a blue-colored stainless steel ring surrounding the button, but unfortunately there is no stainless steel cover like is usually seen now, with the digital switch below being protected by a simple rubber cover. The button has a multicolored LED in its center, which indicates the battery status while in use. The button itself has a pretty low travel, but I find it slightly unpleasant to use, as it is rather mushy and indistinct. It is worth noting the absence of any substantial heatsink here, but as I will discuss later in the review, this does not seem to affect the thermal performance of the light. The head of the light features a unique sunken bezel, which is also made of blue-colored stainless steel, and which is rather conveniently engraved with the specifications of the LED. This protects a TIR lens, which is machined so that it mates pretty cleanly with the bezel, though a small gap is still present. I assume there was an O-ring in this gap, but the compact nature of the head made it difficult to verify. Unfortunately, this lens is almost certainly made of plastic, and has absolutely no anti-reflective coating to speak of. I guess it could be made of glass, but I haven't found any information on it, and don't really want to test it out. So if I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments below, but honestly I'm pretty sure it's plastic. The LED below is a luminous SST40 in cool white. Looking at the inside, all of the threads are square cut and are very precise and smooth. However, the light can only be unscrewed at the head, which makes reassembly slightly annoying as the clip presses against the body, but this is a very minor nitpick. On this copper model, neither the threads nor the interior of the battery tube are anodized, which means this particular model does not have the ability to physically lock out the battery. This is of course unique to the copper version. The head contains a single gold-plated spring, and the base has a special dual-ringed contact that allows for charging with the included battery. This is merely a flat contact and does not allow for flat-topped cells to be used. It should also be noted that the anode of the battery touches the contact of the base and not the head, which is the reverse of most flashlights. The battery fits very snugly in the tube, and there is no battery rattle at all, which certainly made me happy. The included battery is on the larger size, and the tube will accommodate pretty much any reasonably sized 18650 you may have. However, as stated before, it will not accept any flat-top cells, which is slightly disappointing. This will probably not affect very many people though, as I assume most will simply use the included battery. The battery that Olight includes is a 3.6 volt, 3200 mAh 18650 that has been designed specifically for use within this light. The proprietary design allows it to be charged with the included magnetic charger used by all of the lights in the Baton series, but Olight does not recommend using any other charger for this battery. Of course, any usable 18650 will power the light, but only this one will be able to use the Baton's charging system. For those wondering, this battery will work in other lights. The included battery is of course protected with all of the usual electronic protection systems. Overall, this light is very well built, and I was very impressed with it as I worked on this review. It meets all the usual specifications with a drop mating of 1.5 meters and a waterproof rating of IPX8. Normally I have reservations about lights with built-in chargers, but the magnetic system that Olight uses should be more durable than others and is less susceptible to water incursions, all while being extremely compact. The only real issue I have with the build is the button, which I find to be somewhat unpleasant and difficult to use, at least compared to other lights in this category. Otherwise though, the build is excellent, and on top of that, the copper construction of this model is pretty awesome. The interface of this S2R Baton is basically exactly like every flashlight with this design. A quick press of the button turns it on, and another press turns it back off. Pressing and holding will cycle through the modes low, medium, and high, for which the light has memory. A long press from off will turn the light on to ultra low, which the light also has mode memory for. A rapid double tap will turn the light on to turbo from any mode, and a triple tap will lead to strobe. From either of these, a single press will turn the light off, and either a double tap or pressing and holding will revert to the normal modes. During these modes, the LED in the button will display the remaining battery life, with green being greater than 77%, orange being 15 to 77%, and red being less than 15%. When in ultra low, the LED will not light at all, which is always appreciated. Pressing and holding the light from off for over a full second will lead to the lockout mode, during which the light cannot be activated and the LED in the button will flash red to indicate so. Pressing and holding again will exit lockout mode. To put it bluntly, this is one of the worst lockout modes I've ever seen, as one of the main purposes for using this type of mode is to prevent accidental activation while the light is in a pocket or a bag. The relatively short long press that this light depends on for its lockout is simply not going to prevent this accidental activation from happening. Your mileage may vary, but I just don't see this lockout being very useful at all, and may even become an annoyance considering how easy it is to engage in the first place. I can easily see someone who's not very familiar with this light accidentally engaging lockout mode and then being unable to access the normal modes. This light also features a timer mode. However, to be completely honest with you, I was way too incompetent to figure out how the heck it works, and I also kind of don't see what it would be needed for, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to skip over that particular feature. Charging this light is very simple. Attach the light to the magnetic base, plug the charger into something that has a USB output, and voila, power. The light in the base of the charger will turn red while charging and green once it's finished. The light itself retains all functionality while being charged, which is very nice to see. The interface isn't anything special or unique, but it is well programmed and doesn't have any noticeable issues in use. One feature that I like very much is the memory for ultra low, which essentially allows the user to skip the long press and activate the mode like normal after it has been memorized. As I personally use ultra low a lot, I find this very convenient. I don't generally use turbo much, but I do wish it had memorization for this mode as well. I don't have much to say about the performance of this light, which is a good thing as that means it works pretty much exactly as advertised. The light values are all close to the listed specs, and the maximum output of 1150 lumens is certainly very high, but is nothing special compared to its competitors. The output times for every mode except for turbo are very good and are probably the most notable aspect of its performance. However, turbo itself is pretty bad in my opinion, as the light only provides maximum output for 2 minutes before stepping down to 400 lumens. This is pretty usual for modern flashlights now, but honestly it sucks. I don't really know why 1100 lumens would be necessary for a light this size, but only having 2 minutes of that output is still pretty disappointing. Other lights in this category are certainly able to output this much without such a rapid step down. The LED used by the S2R is the luminous SST40 in cool white, which is essentially designed to be a drop-in replacement for the Cree XML2. It has a temperature of 7500K and a CRI of 70, which is not all that great. However, I do think this light makes up for it with a remarkably smooth, clean beam that is excellently shaped for close-range, general-purpose use. The beam has no noticeable artifacts and is perfectly shaped with a totally even dispersion of light. On top of this, there is no noticeable tint shift whatsoever, which is one of my favorite aspects of the light. The beam tint itself is not my favorite, and I really wish they offered this light with a warmer emitter, but I think they have done an excellent job with the optics in the S2R Baton. Heat management is also very good here. While I do think the very short runtime of turbo is a large part of it, I never found the light getting hot, and it always remained at a reasonable temperature during use. It did get fairly warm while charging, but that's about it. Bear in mind that this may be at least partially due to the copper construction, and the aluminum version may not be quite as good at thermal management. The magnetic charger included with the light claims a charging current of 1 amp. However, the manual for the light says it should charge fully in about 4.5 hours, which leads me to believe that the charger is ramping up and down throughout its cycle, which is good. The nature of the contacts in the light mean that the standby drain can't really be measured, but at least from what I understand by reading other people's reviews, it should be very low, so I wouldn't really be worried about that. That being said, I would remove the battery if I were planning on long-term storage for this light, since the copper version cannot be physically locked out. Also, I forgot to mention that this light can be powered by 2 CR123 batteries. I feel like this has been a pretty long review, and my time with the light has made me far more appreciative of the products that Olight makes. The S2R Baton 2 is normally $70, and I'm just going to say right here that if you're looking for a light of this type and want a general purpose EDC light that is well built and includes a super convenient magnetic charger, then yes, I do recommend the S2R Baton 2. However, I like this light, but I personally still have several issues with it, and frankly it does not appeal to me very much. While it's well built, it's not perfect, and there are other lights in this category that I still find superior. All things considered, I have a hard time actually recommending this over a light like the ThruNite TC15 or the T1, which both come in at about the same price. Alternatively, if that were too much, I would consider something like the WowTac A6, which I think is a very competitive offering for its price tag of only $30. I don't think $70 is unreasonable for this product, but at that price, there's not much that allows it to stand out. And honestly, if it weren't made of copper, I don't think I would keep mine. I find I simply prefer lights from other brands for a variety of different reasons. One of the big ones, of course, for me is the lack of a neutral white option for this particular light. I don't want to make it seem like this is a bad light, because it's not, and I can definitely see why so many people like it, but truthfully I just don't. If you're considering purchasing this light, I would recommend taking a look at the competition and comparing all your different options. And if the Baton still seems like the best, by all means go for it. Anyway, that's about it for this rather long-winded review. I would really like to review some of the lights that are competing with the Baton, so if you liked this and want to see more videos, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. If you have any comments or suggestions, then please leave them down below. I really appreciate any feedback that you can give. I plan on uploading some more videos that actually compare these lights, and in particular I would like to compare the A6, TC15, S2R, and the T1, among other things. So yeah, please subscribe and stuff, and that's all I have for you today. This video is now over.